In this video, we'll be reviewing again the demand of the United Nations. United Nations is made up of several countries for the release of Maazi Nnamdi Kanu. United Nations has openly declared their support for the immediate release of Maazi Nnamdi Kanu. And it's not just today. That is what we'll be looking at in this very video. Of course, you already know that here in Noble Media, we stand for freedom, we stand for justice, we stand for fair hearing. We stand that the right thing must be done. Let's look at the United Nations statement, the United Nations stand on the freedom of Maazi Nnamdi Kanu. Before we go on, let's give you a background of the United Nations. The United Nations is an international organization established in 1945, headquartered in New York City, that is USA, with 193 member states dedicated to maintaining international peace and security, fostering friendly relations among nations, promoting international cooperation, and serving as a center for harmonizing the actions of nations. Its core goals are outlined in its founding charter, and it works through its 6 principal organs, specialized agencies, and the broader UN system to address a wider range of global challenges. This group has also been very vocal about demanding that Nnamdi Kanu should be released and released now. This is what we are now going to begin to look at. If you have not subscribed, click on subscribe now. International Working Group on Arbitrary Detention condemns Nnamdi Kanu's arrest, extradition, asks Nigeria and Kenya to take appropriate action. There it is, the stand of United Nations. The Working Group on Arbitrary Detention under the United Nations Commission on Human Rights, UNCHR, disclosed this in a statement published on its website. This statement is on the United Nations website. It has been there. We are revisiting it now. An international working group has declared the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, as unlawful and an infringement on its international human rights. The Working Group on Arbitrary Detention under the United Nations Commission on Human Rights disclosed this in a statement published on its website. We must now move on. The group comprises scholars and experts who specialize in human rights issues and related laws. Kanu is facing terrorism charges in Nigeria before Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court in Abuja. He has been in the custody of the Department of State Services (DSS) since mid-2021. Since the middle of 2021, Nnamdi Kanu has been in DSS custody. The IPOB leader was detained after he was arrested in Kenya and repatriated in June 2021. He was arrested over his agitation for Biafra and, by extension, Nigeria's breakup. Of course, everyone that has followed Nnamdi Kanu knows what he stands for. He doesn't hide it. He wants his people to be free from Nigeria. The statement by the working group, the United Nations Working Group, we are making this statement so that the world will know that United Nations has said this and Nigerian government is ignoring the statement of the United Nations, as they always do. The statement by the working group said, the working group is mindful that Article 9, subsection 2 of the Covenant requires that anyone who is arrested is not only informed of the reasons for the arrest, but also promptly informed of any charges against them. As explained by the Human Rights Committee in its general comment number 37, the obligation encapsulated in Article 9, subsection 2 has 2 elements. Information about the reason for the arrest must be provided immediately upon arrest, and there must be prompt information about the charges provided thereafter. Failure to do so violates Article 9 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 9 of the Covenant, and Principle 10 of the Body of Principles, and renders the person's arrest devoid of any legal basis. Let's move on. Consequently, Mr. Kanu's arrest without an arrest warrant and with no explanation has the reason for as to the reason for his arrest, violated his rights under Article 9 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 9 of the Covenant, and Principles 2, 4, 10, and 36, subsection 2 of the body of principle. It said, look at all the laws that covenants binding nations that Nigeria is violating in Nnamdi Kanu's case. Bruce Fein, the American lawyer of the IPOB leader, had petitioned the group over alleged gross violation of his client's rights. The United Nations group, in its report, also described Kanu's repatriation from Kenya in June 2021 as illegal. It's important we know this. As illegal, unlawful, unconstitutional extradition. The United Nations also described Nnamdi Kanu's extradition from Kenya as number 1, illegal, number 2, unlawful, and number 3, unconstitutional extradition. We must now move on. It reads, on 30 December 2021, the working group transmitted the allegation from the source to the government of Nigeria and Kenya under its regular communication procedure. The working group requests the government to provide by 22nd February 2022 detailed information about the current situation of Maazi Nnamdi Kanu, to clarify the legal provisions justifying his continued detention, as well as its compatibility with the obligations of Nigeria and Kenya under international human rights law, and in particular with regard to the treaties ratified by the two states. Moreover, the working group called upon the government of Nigeria to ensure Mr. Kanu's physical and mental integrity. On 25th January 2022, the government of Nigeria submitted a reply in which it stated that, given that the case is ongoing in national court, any reaction by the federal government of Nigeria will be unconscionable. The working group regret that it received no reply from the government of Kenya, and that it also did not seek an extension in accordance with paragraph 16 of the working group's method of work. The working group, that's United Nations, so all these things we are talking about is United Nations, has maintained from its early years that the practice of arresting persons without a warrant renders the detention arbitrary. This lacks any valid legal basis under any circumstance. Judicial oversight of any detention is a central safeguard for personal liberty and is critical in ensuring that detention has a legitimate basis. In the circumstances attending the detention of Mr. Kanu, attending the detention of Mr. Kanu, that's Mr. Nnamdi Kanu, at an unknown location, the working group find that his right to an effective remedy under the Article 8 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and Article 2, Section 3 of the Covenant were violated. Nnamdi Kanu's right. That is what United Nations is saying, that his rights were violated. This is more reason why Maazi Nnamdi Kanu should be free. Please, you watching this video, come under the comment of this video and type free Maazi Nnamdi Kanu right now. Type free Maazi Nnamdi Kanu. He was also placed outside the protection of the law in violation of his right to be recognized as a person before the law under Article 6 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and Article 16 of the Covenant. Are you following? So come under the comment of this video and type, if you are courageous, if you are not afraid and timid, come under the comment of this video and type free Maazi Nnamdi Kanu and free Biafrans. The working group also considered that Mr. Kanu's time in detention following his arrest constitutes pre-trial detention, which violated the prescription of Article 9, subsection 3 of the Covenant insofar as Mr. Kanu was not presented before a judicial authority within 48 hours and no individual assessment of the appropriateness of his pre-trial detention took place. We must now move on. The source asserts, and the government does not contest, that on or before 29 June 2021, Mr. Kanu was subjected to extraordinary rendition to Abuja, Nigeria, with no prior judicial hearing before a judicial or administrative body. The source emphasized that Mr. Nnamdi Kanu was not given access to counsel and was denied any judicial proceeding altogether while in Kenya. These are the procedures that Nigeria is supposed to have followed before they even think about bringing Nnamdi Kanu to Abuja. The source note that according to Nigeria's Attorney General, Mr. Kanu was apprehended and transported to Abuja with the cooperation of Nigeria's intelligence officials and Interpol. The source claimed that in the present case, there was no fair and public hearing concerning Mr. Kanu's removal from Kenya to Nigeria. The source stressed that involuntary expulsion to a foreign state without a hearing by judicial authorities does not confirm with due process consideration. It is clear, look at what United Nations, it is clear consideration. It is clear from the facts as narrated by the source and not contested by the government that Mr. Nnamdi Kanu was never presented to a court before leaving Nairobi. Instead, he was unwillingly taken beside his will, outside any legal process and without any legal protection. He was forcibly conveyed from Nairobi to Abuja under an arrangement between the Kenyan and Nigerian government and with the cooperation of the Nigerian intelligence officials and Interpol, as confirmed by Nigeria's Attorney General. This is so sad, but we must be talking about it. We must keep opening this case until the right thing is done. If you are courageous and if you want Maazi Nnamdi Kanu to be free, come under the comment of this post and type free Maazi Nnamdi Kanu now. Type Tinubu free Maazi Nnamdi Kanu. As the working group has previously observed, 9 international laws regarding extradition provides procedure that must be observed by countries in arresting, detaining and returning individuals to face criminal proceedings in another country and in ensuring that the right to a fair trial is protected. This is also an explicating obligation arising from Article 13 of the Covenant, which requires that the person who is to be expelled be allowed to submit the reasons against his expulsion and to have his case reviewed by and be represented for the purpose. Therefore, the competent authority or a person or persons especially designated by the competent authority. We must move on. The working group find that all these requirements were ignored in the present case, and the removal of Mr. Kanu from Kenya amount to extraordinary rendition. Nigeria ignored all the international laws in this Kanu's case. We must keep talking about it. Further, the working group, that is United Nations Working Group, knows that this was preceded by the secret detention of Mr. Kanu, as the working group and other experts have stated regarding state responsibility in the joint study on global practices in relation to secret detention in the context of countering terrorism. Secret detention involving the denial or concealment of a person's detention, whereabouts or fate has the inherent consequence of placing the person outside the protection of the law. The principle of prosy detention, where persons are transferred from one state to another outside the realm of any international or national legal procedure, rendition or extraordinary rendition, for the specific purpose of secretly detaining them, or to exclude the possibility of review by the domestic courts of the state having custody of the detainee, or otherwise in violation of the well-entrenched principle of non-refoulement, entails exactly the same consequence. The practice of prosy detention involves the responsibility of both the state that is detaining the victim and the state on whose behalf or at whose behest the detention takes place. It is aimed at avoiding all procedural safeguards. It is not compatible with international law. It is not compatible with international law. The working group has previously found a violation of Article 9 of the Covenant and the detention to be arbitrary where individuals were transferred to another country without the confines of any legal procedures such as extradition, where we are not allowed access to counsel. This is precisely what happened in Mr. Nnamdi Kanu's case. I hope you are following. These are all the crimes Nigeria committed in bringing Nnamdi Kanu to Nigeria. Secret detention involving the denial or concealment of a person's detention, whereabouts or fate, has the inherent consequence of placing the person outside the protection of the law. This is what the United Nations is saying on this case. We must now move on. In the light of the foregoing, the working group renders the following opinion in relation to Kenya and Nigeria: the deprivation of liberty of Maazi Nnamdi Kanu being in contravention of, look at all the laws Nigeria violated of Articles 2, Articles 3, Article 6, Article 7, Article 8, Article 9, Article 10, Article 11, and Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and Articles 2, 9, 13, 14, 16, 19, and 26 of the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights, is arbitrary and falls within categories 1, 2, 3, and 4. The working group requires the government of Kenya and Nigeria to take necessary steps to remedy the situation of Mr. Kanu without any delay and bring it into conformity with the relevant international norms, including those set out in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights. We must now move on. The working group considered that, taking into account all the consequences of the case, the appropriate remedy would be for the government of Nigeria to release Mr. Kanu immediately, and for both government to accord him an enforceable right to compensation and other reparations in accordance with international law. In the current context of the global coronavirus disease, because this info was released during the coronavirus time, and the threat that it poses in place of detention, the working group calls upon the government of Nigeria to take urgent action to ensure the immediate and unconditional release of Mr. Nnamdi Kanu. Finally, the working group urged the two governments to ensure a full and independent investigation of the circumstances surrounding the arbitrary detention of liberty of Mr. Kanu, and to take appropriate measures against those responsible for the violation of his rights. Not only should Nigeria release him, but action should be taken against those involved in bringing him to this Nigeria. In accordance with paragraph 33A of its method of work, the working group refers the present case to the special rapporteur on torture and other cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment and punishment for appropriate action. The working group requests the government to disseminate the present opinion through all available means and as widely as possible. This is the United Nations stance on Mr. Nnamdi Kanu's case, and we'll keep talking about this. If you have not subscribed to our channel, subscribe. If you have not liked this video, go ahead and like, and most importantly, share this very information, because every lover of freedom, every supporter of Maazi Nnamdi Kanu needs to know the stand of the United Nations. We just gave you all of them in details. If you have not joined, please join, share. When you share, copy the link of this video, share it on all WhatsApp group, on all Facebook platforms, share the link on all Telegram channels. Let your followers, your fans, and your members all join. And most importantly, there's an important video on the screen. Click on it and watch. There's an important video on the screen.